Welcome to the Do Life and a Body You Love podcast. I'm Nikki O'Day, and we are going to talk about any and every topic that will get you showing up bigger and bolder in your life. Weight loss, relationships, mindset, it's all on the table. It may not come out real PC, but if you're sick of motivational rah-rah talks that don't lead to any real change in your life, then you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. Hello, my Do Life and a Body You Love ladies. If you've ever tried to accomplish something and you felt like your brain was working against you, you're actually sort of right. And that's what we're going to talk about today is my brain trying to sabotage me? And the answer is yes, but that's okay. Because once you understand this, then you can move past it. So it sounds kind of doom and gloom at first, but it's really not. It's just we need to understand how our mind actually works if we're going to get the things that we say that we want. So this could apply to your weight. This could apply to your finances, to relationships, literally anything that you're trying to accomplish in life. It can sometimes feel like we're just like swimming upstream. It's so hard to change our habits. It's so hard to change our behavior to bring about the things that we want. So why is that? Anyways, so here's the deal. Your brain does not care about you thriving and living your best life and having all the things that you want. Your brain is concerned about survival, the end, and it will automate habits and behaviors that you have lived out in the past that have kept you safe. So you do something, it might not have been the best choice, but it kept you alive. And so your brain's like, sweet, let's just keep doing it that way. And that's why it's so hard to change our behavior sometimes. So your brain wants you fed, to get sleep, the basic stuff. Your brain isn't like, hey, can we go build $1 million business? Or can I get some banging abs before summer gets here and I have to go on a boat? Your brain don't care. Your brain don't care. So here's how it is. We do have, let's take food for an example. Okay. So we naturally crave things that are high in calories, right? Like sweet things, fatty things. And that's evolutionarily smart because we didn't always have an abundance of food, right? So you want all of these things. It triggers these dopamine centers in your brain that say, hey, that felt nice. I liked that. And then you'll just continuously seek out that type of food, right? It feels good. Your brain likes it. You don't stop and think, is this food really going to get me to my waistline goals? No, we just do things, right? And so we have to be super intentional with our actions and our behavior if we want to live a life that we like. If we are just running around doing the things that feel good, our life's going to look like a hot mess. And we know that, and we have certain things in place. We don't do everything that we want to do, right? Then it'd really be a mess. But if you are struggling in some area of life, or you want to really next level some area of life, there are some steps that you have to take because your brain's going to try to sabotage you every step of the way. And understanding why that's happening is going to help you stick to the actions that you need to stick with. Because you're never going to accidentally just pick the action that's going to next level your life. In fact, you'll probably just by default pick actions that have gotten you to the point where you're at right now, hence being stuck. And this is in essence why humans don't like change, right? Change is very uncomfortable for us because it's unknown. It's uncertain. This is why people will continue to do things that are bad for them. We stay in relationships that are bad for us. We keep eating food that's bad for us. We keep blowing our money or going to the casino or doing whatever the thing is where we can look at it logically and be like, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? But the reason, there's a couple of reasons. A, it is providing you some sort of comfort, but really, we don't like change. So the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, right? The old saying. And that just means when we're comfortable with what we're familiar with, even if it's sabotaging us. How crazy is that? We could know that stepping out and doing something new would be the best option for us, but our brain is going to try to keep us stuck because it wants us safe. So what is going to happen when you try to change your behavior or you try to change your circumstance? You're going to experience fear. That's your brain's way of saying, whoa, 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 we're cool where we're at. Why are you going to go messing with things? Let's not rock the boat here. And you're going to think of a million reasons why you shouldn't do the thing you should actually do. And so a lot of times we only want to do things that feel good. Like we think that feeling positive towards something is like some sort of a sign that that's what we're supposed to be doing, or that's like the best option for us. And that's not always the case. In fact, a lot of times the thing that's going to get you what you most want in life is going to be extremely uncomfortable, maybe even terrifying. And you're just going to have to face that fear and know that it's not some sign that you're not supposed to do it. And it doesn't mean that the thing is bad. I mean, sometimes that fear is there for a reason. It is there to keep you safe. Okay. So don't just do everything that feels like it might be dangerous. But know that even things that are really, really good for us can feel terrifying. And so the people who are able to bring about the changes that they want to see in their life, it's not that those people don't have fear. It's that they get very comfortable facing that fear. They get comfortable in unfamiliar territory. And even to the point where, like, if you step out and you do something wild and it's totally what you want and it's everything you ever wanted it to be, and it's actually working out perfectly, it'll feel incredibly unsettling, like insanely unsettling. So I personally had this happen to me with my business. The first time that I made enough money in 1 month to pay my bills. And so that was like my light bulb moment where it became crystal clear that I didn't have to stay at the bedside as a nurse if I didn't want to. I could really actually have my own business. And that's what I always wanted. And then when it happened, I lost my marbles for a minute, you guys. Like, I was fine after a minute, but I was like, oh, this money is like uncomfortable for me. And this is actually going to happen. And like, oh, I'm actually going to be able to quit my job. Oh, like when all the things that you ever wanted in life come to fruition, it doesn't even feel good. So your brain's going to stop you from trying to take the action in the first place. It's going to make up a bunch of reasons why you shouldn't take action. This can even be about your health, you guys. It happens with health, finances, all the things. Okay. So your brain's going to try to keep you stuck. Then even if you make the steps and the change starts happening, your brain's going to freak out. And this is that moment of self-sabotage. Right before a big breakthrough, people sabotage themselves all the time. I see it in business. I see it with people's health journeys. Women who are getting ready to make this huge breakthrough, right? Like maybe they have 100 pounds to lose and they've only been able to lose 15. They've never lost more than that. They're coasting. Things are going great. They've come over some of the mindset hurdles. We're grooving. They hit that 15-pound mark before they ever hit that 16 number on the scale. Boom, self-sabotage. All kinds of things start happening. And people do the same thing in business. They're getting ready to have like this breakthrough month. And then like, boom, everything just falls apart. Things aren't falling apart. Our minds are falling apart. And my brain does this too. And it's so annoying, but knowing is how we get over it, right? So you have to be aware that this is going to happen. Expect your brain to try to trick you into staying in your current life. So what is the thing that you want to change more than anything in the world? Is it your health? And that doesn't have to be weight, but it could be weight. But is it like your level of physical activity? Do you want to be able to walk up the stairs without being short of breath? Or is it something financial? Do you just have it in your mind that your 9-to-5 job is the only way to pay your bills, but you hate your job, but you feel stuck in your job? Like, do you want to open up your mind to other options? Or is this something with relationships? Are you in a bad one that you know you need to get out of? Or are you happy in the relationship that you have? Not happy. Are you in a relationship you want to be in, but you want to make some changes? You know that there's some things that you guys need to work on, but it feels weird and scary. And like, we're going to have to talk about some stuff and there's going to have to be boundaries and like, I'd rather just turn on Netflix and ignore all of this. What is the thing that you want You have to decide to go after it, right? You have to believe it's possible and you have to decide to go after it. And the minute that you start thinking of it, your brain's going to tell you all the reasons you should not do it, right? It's going to tell you, like, if it's your weight, then your brain's going to say, you don't really have time for all of that, or you can't really afford a gym membership, or what's the point? Your husband's just going to come home and bring you ice cream every night anyways. And all of those things that our brain is telling us are excuses, which we talked about last week. If you didn't listen to that episode, go back and listen to it. But all of those things, like, they're not outside of your control. Like, there's always an action that you can take. And sometimes you got to be like, shut up, brain, shut up. I can get around that. Like, all those things your brain's going to throw at you, they may be actual hurdles that you have to work around to get to your goal, but it doesn't mean that they can keep you stuck. Okay. So once you've made the decision, you've moved past the excuses phase, then you got to put like a very clear motivator to this. Why do you want this thing? And I talk about this all the time, and you guys are probably sick of hearing me, but it's like, you get so deep on why you want what you want. It has to be crystal clear. And it can't be vague, like, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. You may be thinking, well, that's not vague. There's a number tied to that. It's still vague, because why do you want to lose 20 pounds? What's magical about that 20 pounds? What happens for you at that 20-pound mark? Is that the last time that you felt comfortable in your body? Was that weight? Okay, well, why is it important to you to feel comfortable in your body? How is being uncomfortable in your body affecting your life? Okay, so is it because you don't feel confident enough to even go out with your girlfriends because you don't like the way your clothes fit? Or you want to take a vacation, but you don't want to get in a bathing suit? Or you can't get on the floor and play with your grandkids because it's too painful to get back up. And you know, when you take the weight off, your knees hurt less. Like, get very specific and tangible about how the problem you want to solve is impacting you, so that when your brain starts saying, who do you think you are? You can't do this. You can be like, shut up. I can, and I will. And this is why. So you got to be very clear on your why. And then you have to put a very clear plan into place, because generalities and vagueness will never get you anywhere. Because again, your brain's going to stop you. Your brain automates your previous behavior. That's a habit, right? So you actually have these neural pathways laid down in your brain. And every time that you've repeated a behavior, that pathway has gotten more like ingrained. Like, think of it like walking through a forest, and you take the same path all the time. Over the course of years and years, that path gets more and more worn down, right? Well, those pathways in your brain, those are behaviors that become so easy for you to do. It's like when you drive home from work and you don't even remember getting in the driveway, and you're like, did I run over a cat on the way home? Did I run a red light? Am I going to jail? How did I get here? Well, you didn't do any of those things. Your brain just autopilots that, right? That's because those neural pathways are so ingrained in your brain. Now you got to change them when we're talking about changing our behavior, right? So it's uncomfortable. Your brain doesn't want to do it because it takes more work. So let's use an example of like a healthy meal. It may be the case that I give you a recipe that only takes 15 minutes to make. But if it's using cooking methods that you're not accustomed to, and it's a recipe that you have to read, and maybe there's some ingredients you're not familiar with, even having them on hand, it is going to feel like it takes more time and more effort to make that recipe than for you to spend 45 minutes making something that you have memorized. You don't need to read the recipe. It's something you've been making your whole life. That recipe will feel easier, and your brain would rather make that familiar food than make the new food, even though it's not any harder. Like, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, losing weight is not time consuming. It's literally not. The biggest objection that I get to people not wanting to start to lose weight or not staying committed to it is because they think they don't have time. Trust me, every single woman in my Keep It Off Academy is extremely strapped for time. Like, these chicks don't have extra time. They're all losing weight. It's not a time issue, actually. It's a brain effort type of issue. And your brain's going to say, you ain't got time for that. Well, you're already cooking. You can make something healthy instead. You have to feed yourself, right? So it doesn't have to be that time consuming. So getting crystal clear on what you want and why you want it and how you're going to get yourself there. And then be ready, because the fear is coming. Your brain's going to throw you a million excuses. Maybe it won't feel like fear. Maybe it will feel like laziness. So if you're somebody who's like, I want to lose weight, but I'm lazy, you're probably not actually lazy. I hate it when people say that, because I don't know that many lazy people. I know people who are overworked, underpaid, stressed out, malnourished, brains are like in a fog. And so then it's like, I need to unwind. I know people like that. And if that's you, that's not being lazy. That's like, I need a timeout, right? But when you go to take the actions, your brain may say, let's just go do this thing instead. This enjoyable thing. Let's go watch Netflix. Let's go drink a glass of wine. Let's go do whatever. And in the moment, that seems more comfortable. But if it's making your life harder down the road, then it's not probably the best course of action, right? So here's the deal. Like, if we're going to bring about big change in our life, whether that's with our health or any other area, it's going to take massive action, and the reward isn't going to be there immediately. And this is what makes it difficult. Your brain wants you to do whatever feels good right now. And that's how most animals operate. It's how toddlers operate. Give me what I want, when it feels good, which is right now, right? But we know if we're going to bring about change, it's going to be uncomfortable right now to bring me what I want down the road. So again, being clear on what it is that you want and why you want it, so that you can think long-term. You have to be a long-term thinker here if we're going to get past these little hurdles that our brain gives us. Okay. So it may come looking like fear. It may come being like, I just want to be lazy. I just want to have a good time. It may be like, well, this isn't going to work anyways. So what's the point in trying? How many times have we said that? Like, you have one little thing that's off plan and you're like, nope, I knew this wasn't going to work. How many times am I going to try to diet? It never lasts. And then you're just like off the wagon for a year. Well, wait a minute. You just had one peanut butter cup. You didn't need to quit. But those are all these stall tactics by our brain, because again, our brain is to keep us safe. Our brain wants us to be sheltered and fed and in familiar territory. New territory is extremely uncomfortable. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because if you lived through something before, then it's probably safe enough for you to just keep doing it. But do you want to live in a life of it's so safe? You've already done this. You know you can do this and live. And there's really no risk, but then there's also no reward, right? So you got to be able to like face your fears and push past it and get comfortable being uncomfortable. And some things aren't worth doing. Like, it's a lot of work, right? So you have to decide, how important is this to you? But if it's something that's very important, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get whatever knowledge you have to acquire. Get a mentor to guide you and push you and give you accountability and all of those things. But the very first thing that you have to do is just decide that it's worth it, because the juice has got to be worth the squeeze, right? We're not going to go putting our all into things that aren't really that worth it for us. So what are the areas of your life where you want to see some change, where the discomfort will be worth it because of the fruit that it brings, whether that's some more longevity into your health? Like, is it worth it to lose weight if you don't have to be super strict? Okay. Because you don't, to lose weight. Like, we just think a bunch of crazy things that aren't even true when it comes to weight loss. So if it doesn't have to be crazy time consuming and it doesn't have to be crazy strict, and you can still have fun sometimes, could you eat healthier 80% more often than you currently do if you could still keep some of your junky food that you love, but also get back in a body you're happy with? Like, is that good give and take? Only you can answer that, right? It's the same thing. Like, we sacrifice our time and our money to go to college to get good jobs, right? Well, is it worth it? Well, probably not if you pick a stupid major that's not going to pay you anything, right? But it might be worth it if you're going to come out of it with a degree where you're going to be able to pay back that debt, and the sacrifice was worth it because it's up-leveling your life. So you just have to look at the whole picture of something. Is this worth it? Is what I have to do worth it? And if you're not sure what you have to do to get what you want, go find a mentor. Somebody has walked the walk that you're trying to walk. Go find that person and attach yourself to them and see, what does this path actually look like? Do I want to embark on this path? And if the answer is yes, just be ready for your brain to mess with you. If you know it's coming, you can handle it. If you're not aware that your brain's going to do these things, then you don't know how to handle it when it happens. You just kind of go with it. And if you're always just kind of going with it, those big changes aren't going to come, babe. They're just not. It can't just be go with it, do what feels good in the moment. And, if things work out, cool. But I promise you, if you're that chill about life, God bless you. I wish that I was, actually. But things aren't going to just turn around. They don't magically just turn around. Luck isn't really a thing. Yes, some people are born into better situations and some people are born with better genetics and all of these things. But at the end of the day, we have to own where we're at and realize that we can make insanely amazing changes in our life. Insane changes that you have no idea are even possible for you right now listening to this. You can make all of those changes. Anything that you want, essentially. I mean, you can't go be taller if you're not tall, but you can go change your finances. You can go change your waistline. You can change how your relationships operate. You can change lots and lots of things. If you get comfortable being uncomfortable and telling your brain to sit down, take a seat, we ain't doing it like that, and be willing to go on these new adventures and push yourself out there and beyond fear. Is this sitting with you guys? Does this make sense? I'm kind of rambling here, but I love this topic because it's this huge misconception that brave people don't feel fear. And that's not actually true at all. Bravery is facing fear and acting anyways. And so I don't know how your brain's going to try to sabotage you. Most likely there's going to be a fear component to it. It could be anxiety about new situations or changing behavior. It could be hurdles that your brain's going to tell you are insurmountable. You could never possibly do this because of X, Y, and Z, but none of those things are true. I don't know, but you got to sit and get real with yourself and you got to be ready to get uncomfortable. I would love to know how this is sitting with you guys. If you want to pop in the Simplified Fat Loss group after you listen to this and tell me if this struck a chord with you, or shoot me an email or a message on social media. I would love, love, love to hear if you have recognized any of this in the past when you've been trying to make change. How has this affected you? How have you overcome it? There's a million different ways that we can overcome and face that fear, right? And tell our brains to sit down and be quiet. And we can form new habits to get us where we want to be. We can lay down new neural pathways in our brain that lead us to behaving in a way that brings about the change that we want to see. It's totally possible. So I would love to hear any experience that you have with this, any awesome hacks that you've had for facing your fear or getting uncomfortable, or just building new habits or whatever the thing is that you had to do to get where you are. But I hope that this sits well with you guys and it gets your wheels turning so that the next time your brain tries to tell you that you can't do the thing or that the thing's not going to work for you, you're ready to tell your brain to shut up. Thanks for tuning in. It is my mission to give women back the confidence that they need to show up bigger in their lives. Right now, the world more than ever needs women who are on fire and living their purpose. If you want to join me in this mission, there's a few things you can do. 1, you can share this podcast with the women in your circle. 2, you can join me in my Facebook group, Simplified Fat Loss, or you can subscribe to my newsletter at nikkiode.com.